Good evening. A man who had previously been acquitted of his wife's murder has been jailed for life after critical new evidence meant the double jeopardy law no longer applied to the case. Dawn Rhodes was killed at her home in Redhill in Surrey in 2016. Her husband, Robert Rhodes, was charged with her murder just days later, but was found not guilty the following year on the grounds of self-defence. When their child later gave a new account of what happened, including Robert inflicting injuries on himself and his child to back up his version of events, the case returned to court where he was unanimously convicted of Dawn's murder. A warning, Carolyn Sims' report contains distressing detail.
I got the blade and I didn't want to let go of it because I didn't want to hurt me anymore.
Robert Rhodes thought he'd got away with murder, claiming he'd killed his wife Dawn in self-defence. But new evidence from the couple's child, who was under 10 years old at the time, proved him wrong, and today he was jailed for life.
Having taken her life, you sought also to deprive Dawn of her good name, thereby increasing the pain caused to her family. The many people whom you have affected by your selfish and self-centred actions are to be commended for their exceptional resilience and determination.
It was in 2016 that Rhodes was first charged with Dawn's murder. A year later, a jury found him not guilty. 4 years after that, the couple's child told a therapist what had really happened. Evidence that was so compelling, Rhodes was legally allowed to be rearrested and charged, and a jury found him guilty last December. Details of what happened to Dawn in the family home in Redhill that day were repeated in court today. Rhodes had told the couple's child to ask Dawn to close her eyes and hold out her hands for a surprise. While Dawn stood in that vulnerable state, Rhodes slit her throat. To make it look like self-defence, he then stabbed the child's arm and inflicted injuries to his own head. The child, who's now an adult, stood up in court and spoke of the shame and guilt they feel will never go away. They said, "That evening, Robert Rhodes not only killed my mother, he took my life away from me as well." Dawn's family stood together outside court to listen to those who helped bring Rhodes to justice.
Everyone now knows the truth. Dawn did not attack Robert Rhodes that night. She was the victim of her violent husband.
The fact that Rhodes not only murdered his wife in cold blood, but then manipulated and groomed a child to play a part in his evil scheme and cover up what he'd done is simply despicable.
Robert Rhodes didn't show up for sentencing today. The judge said that added cowardice to his list of characteristics. And she expressed hope that all those whose lives he has damaged will at last be able to move on.
And Carolyn, the judge today spoke of a troubling history of Dawn's marriage before she was murdered.
Yeah, exactly. Dawn had actually been a victim of domestic abuse and coercive behaviour for years. She'd got away from Robert Rhodes and started a new relationship. And the judge said that was his motivation for killing her. He was obsessed with this relationship. Well, today outside court we spoke to human rights lawyer Harriet Wistrich. She'd been watching the case and she said while today's outcome is positive, the first trial completely failed to properly look into the background of the couple's relationship.
It tells you so much about the criminal justice system, about homicide and about the differences in the way that men and women are treated by the criminal justice system. It tells us how we really need to delve to understand the underlying dynamics of a relationship where there is a domestic homicide.
Well, today, Surrey and Sussex Police also pointed out that this case shows how important it is to challenge stereotypes about who may and may not become a victim of domestic abuse, and they use this opportunity to encourage people who are to please come forward.
All right, Carolyn, thank you. Well, to more grieving families who are fighting for justice now, and convicted killers who are detained in secure hospitals are to be stopped from receiving thousands of pounds a year in benefits under new government laws. Linda Westcar, whose daughter Kennedy was killed by her partner in Hackney, told ITV News she was devastated when she found out he's still getting universal credit while detained because he was in a hospital instead of a prison. Faye Barker reports.
Kennedy Westcar Sabarosh was killed by her partner in April 2024. He's now serving a sentence to an indefinite hospital order for her manslaughter. A court heard he'd been suffering from schizophrenia. Kennedy's family were then shocked to find out he could receive universal credit, something not given to those in prison.
We were devastated to think that somebody who could commit such a heinous crime could then be rewarded. They are using public funds whilst being detained, and then to be able to claim universal credit on top of that just felt like a very double blow.
Hello again.
The family's now been told by the Work and Pensions Secretary of plans to change the law. They spoke to him yesterday along with the parents of Nottingham attack victims Grace O'Malley Kumar and Barnaby Webber.
I don't say this is going to save a huge amount of money in terms of the benefit bill, but it is a measure of justice. Some people have bravely campaigned on this for many years. Now's the time to act.
These patients are not destitute. They do not need to be building up savings in their bank accounts. The taxpayer does not need to pay twice for... it's not a matter of money, it's a matter of justice and fairness.
The families have welcomed the change.
It's like salt in the wounds after somebody's committed such a heinous crime and then can benefit from it. I'm hopeful the actions that have been taken, the announcements that are coming, will have lasting change.
These families have already been through unimaginable pain. The government hopes benefits will be removed from serious offenders detained in hospital later this year. Faye Barker, ITV News.
A hearing setting out the agenda for the inquest into the death of 10-year-old Sara Sharif got underway in a court in Woking today. The purpose was to set the scope and give a date for the inquest, which will investigate how, after so many warning signs, she was killed at the hands of her own family. Helen Keenan is here with more on this. And Helen, what did we hear today?
Well, today a date was decided and we now know that it won't take place until next year. Now, 10-year-old Sara was hooded, burnt and beaten in a campaign of abuse at that family home in Woking. Her father, Irfan Sharif, and stepmother, Bainash Batul, were jailed for her murder, and her uncle, Faisal Malik, was jailed for his role in her death. Now, today, her stepmother appeared via video link at Woking Coroner's Court, where she asked if she could give evidence at the inquest, remarking, "I'm aware this can't overturn my conviction. I'm not seeking to do that, but my voice was not heard in the criminal trial." Now, she was told she would only be able to do so if her statement was relevant to the inquiry.
And Helen, do we have an idea of what will be looked into at the inquest?
Well, a rough outline was given today of what might be included. So some of which might be what was known about the risk of violence to Sara from her family from birth, how children's services manage that risk around placing her in the care of her father full time, what the plan was for monitoring her and why that stopped, whether fears of accusations of racism affected anyone's response in her case, why adoption was considered and decided against, and of course, ultimately, what happened to Sara in her final months and her cause of death. Now, decisions around homeschooling and her injuries that had been spotted at school are also likely to be discussed. Now, since her death, a review found that services in Surrey failed to identify that she was at risk of abuse and didn't question unexplained bruising. So who should or could have done more will certainly be at the forefront of people's minds when that inquest takes place on the 5th of April 2027.
Helen, thank you. Some other news now, and 2 90-year-olds have died in a house fire in Barnet. Emergency services were called out in the early hours of this morning, but both died at the scene. They are said to have lived in the area for 50 years, with a neighbour describing them as a really sweet couple. And the Mayor is set to announce a rise in council tax by £20 for the average Band D household. Sir Sadiq Khan says he would invest 3/4 of the increase into neighbourhood policing and a crackdown on phone theft. If approved, thousands more Londoners could face bills over £2,000 for the first time. Next, while traffic in London rarely moves quickly, new limits will force more drivers to stick to a maximum 20 miles per hour. Over half the capital's roads already have the limit, but Transport for London has confirmed more are on the way. The changes are divisive, with some arguing going 20 helps save lives, but others say there are better ways to improve safety. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
In this business,
The quicker you drive and get from A to B, the more money you can earn.
Simon has been an Uber driver for 6 years, but he's thinking of moving on. The growing number of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits in London has hit his income.
Driving 20 mile an hour is just ridiculous. I get tourists who complain and say, why are we driving so slow? 3 in the morning, why am I driving 20 miles an hour? Everybody who's vulnerable would not be on the street 3 in the morning.
More than half of London's roads are 20-mile-an-hour zones, including dual carriageways like Finchley Road, which used to be 40, and Park Lane. Last year, 110 people were killed on London's roads, more than 3,500 injured.
Many of those are on main roads, so TfL has introduced a safer speed limits on many of its roads. And where that has happened, we've seen a 25% fall in the number of collisions, saving lives across the capital, including there on Park Lane.
But there are other statistics. According to the most recent figures from the Met, in the space of 12 months, more than 220,000 speeding fines were issued to drivers in 30-mile-an-hour zones. In 2009, Islington was the first council in the country to impose a blanket 20-mile-an-hour limit on all of its roads. It was just the start.
There's 21 out of the 33 London boroughs now have a default 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, but there's about 12 left to go, and they're more in the outer boroughs.
Bromley in South East London is one of them, and the Conservative council here is in no rush to lower the limit.
There is zero appetite amongst my administration for blanket 20-mile-an-hour coverage. We believe that through education and through suitable signage, we're getting the job done, and we're actually getting the job done more effectively than many boroughs with 20-mile-an-hour permanent signage, and the accident stats provided by the DFT support that belief.
Where you increase the speed limit, all you end up doing is getting to the next set of traffic lights or the next junction slightly earlier.
But that's not the main argument for lower limits. City Hall says where 20 mph has been introduced, the number of people killed or seriously injured has fallen by a third. Simon Harris, ITV News, Park Lane.
Still to come on the programme. These soap stars bringing the story of the world's worst opera singer to the stage, and
the fans are queuing up here outside Wembley, primed for some wrestling action. That's right, WWE is coming to town.
But first, it is a tough start to the weekend for Crystal Palace fans, with news that manager Oliver Glasner will be leaving at the end of the season. At the same time, the Eagles star captain is reportedly closing in on a deal with Manchester City. Anila Dami is at White Horse Lane for us now. Anila, this is, well, 2 massive blows for the club.
It is. It's a bit like goals in the back of the net and then losing on penalties. It's the nature of the game. It's hard to believe just 7 months ago, streets here were filled with red and blue when Crystal Palace had their parade. They brought home the FA Cup trophy for the first time in the club's history. And then just last weekend, lost and were knocked out of the FA Cup by low-ranked Macclesfield. And now 2 big bits of news. Their manager Oliver Glasner has confirmed that he will be leaving at the end of the season. In a press conference this afternoon, he said he wants a new challenge. He said in that press conference that he spoke to the chairman in October over dinner, saying that he does not want to renew his contract, and that he told the team and us today.
We think now it's important to have clarity on both sides. I think this is what the players deserve. This, I think, is what every staff member deserves, and I think this is what our fans deserve, and that's why I tell it today.
He's clarified it's nothing to do with the transfer window and that he hasn't spoken to any other club. And of course, talking of transfers, the captain of Crystal Palace has confirmed, well, it's reported that he has signed a deal in principle with Manchester City for £20 million. And Glasner said in the press conference that he can't confirm anything, but he understands it's in the final stages. He wished the defender all the best and said that he's been a committed player all season. Glasner said the players were surprised, but they're coping with the situation. I spoke to some fans here. The words disappointment were used, surprised. There were some gasps with people who didn't know the news. And there was a real respect for Glasner too, knowing that, he helped the club bring home the trophy. Glasner's confirmed that Gay's not going to be playing against Sunderland tomorrow. And you'd have thought that after bringing home the FA Cup trophy, their biggest problem would have been about signing players. But fans here are hopeful. So let's see what stands for next for the future of Palace.
All right, Anila, thank you. Now, Londoners have until midnight tonight to have their say on pedestrianising Oxford Street. The consultation focuses on the proposed closure of the road to all vehicles between IKEA and Selfridges. If plans are approved, buses, bikes and cars would all be banned. Now, from a socialite seeking stardom to being ranked the world's worst opera singer, Florence Foster Jenkins embodied the hedonism of roaring 1920s New York. Now, the West End production telling her unlikely story is celebrating its 20th anniversary with a brand new tour. Its stars could be seen as rivals, hailing from two of the country's biggest soaps, but play fast friends in the show Glorious. And it's not the only production to immortalise a singer, with Hollywood royalty Meryl Streep lending her vocal cords to the film all about Jenkins.
This is the talented young man I was telling you about.
Then let's get started.
She's remarkable, isn't she? She can be a little flat.
Flat?
Very warm welcome to Wendy Peters and Matthew James Morrison. Listen, we had to see a bit of Meryl there, Meryl Streep, because we're not allowed to see you singing yet. It's all a big surprise, isn't it?
That's going to be a big surprise. It's pretty much on the same level as Meryl. Yeah,
I'm sure it will be.
No, it's not great.
What's really interesting there, Wendy, is like when we were playing that, you were like, I don't want to see it because you don't want to be influenced. That actually makes total sense.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to do it last year for a month, and when I found out they offered it to me, I'd seen the film when it first came out in 2016, but I didn't purposely watch it again because I didn't want to be influenced. Exactly. I remember her being amazing and very, very funny, but I wanted to sort of create my own version of Florence Foster Jenkins.
Look, the whole premise is, though, that she's a terrible singer.
She is.
How hard or how easy is it to actually do that? Because I'm assuming you can sing a bit, Wendy.
Yeah, I trained in musical theatre years and years ago, so I've done lots of musicals. It was easier, really, than I thought it was going to be. What we did was we learnt the songs as they should be sung correctly, first of all, and then we picked them apart bar by bar and said, let's make a little bit flat there, let's change the breathing on this bit, breathe in the wrong place, the phrasing. Because she was a terrible singer, but it was more about the breath and the phrasing.
Yeah, just destroy all those lovely songs. Matthew, listen, you play Cosme McMoon.
Cosme
McMoon. Tell me a bit about his character, how it all works in the production.
So he's a classical pianist, and basically he works at a restaurant where he's not really being appreciated for his playing abilities, and he's given the opportunity to play for Florence Foster Jenkins. And when he hears us sing, he's like, oh, no, and goes in there for the money. But eventually they form a relationship, like a mother-son relationship, and he becomes very protective over her.
Yeah.
And he's like the eyes.
Is that like you two, really? Yeah, of course. Got to say yes, Wendy.
Yeah. But he doesn't like the fact that people are, laughing at her, and he knows how bad she is. Yeah. She doesn't. But he doesn't like people being nasty about her.
And she became a really cult figure, though, didn't she?
Yes.
Despite her terrible singing.
Despite it. I call it a bit of an X Factor moment. We all like to laugh at things possibly for the wrong reasons, and that's not a great thing. However, it became the thing to go and see. Yeah. And eventually she booked Carnegie Hall, and the play culminates in Carnegie Hall, and how many people turn up, we don't know.
Talking of cult figures, you for many years were Scylla Battersby in Corrie.
Cult figure, wow. Yeah.
That's a pretty nice chunky role, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was great fun. Yeah. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
On a return, yeah. She was great fun to play. I mean, she was a nightmare, mother from hell. And again, everybody hated her, or loved to hate her. But she was such fun to play.
And Matthew, a soap rival, because you're straight from EastEnders, and your character, I've got to get this right, so Felix Baker, alter ego, Tiramisu.
That's correct,
and let's have a little look at your character, because first drag queen to appear as a regular character in a British soap. Look!
I've never seen this.
That was my leaving episode as well.
Oh, how fantastic.
Yeah, we did a, that's Cowboy Carter reference.
Oh, I can see it, I can see that.
Is that your first night outfit?
Important question. Did you get to keep any of those outfits?
No. Oh, well, they do give you the option to take some things with you, but no, none of that stuff. But yeah, I have a few things, a couple of shoes.
I bet you do. You've half finished a few. Listen, guys, it's been absolutely lovely to talk to you. I just want to say one review described this play as blissfully funny. It's a play that generates a rare glow of warmth and generous laughter, which I think
we need.
We need a little bit of that.
It's 2 hours of fun.
2 hours of fun.
Not smile.
And important dates for our viewers. You're coming to Windsor in March and Guildford in May.
Brilliant.
That is glorious. Listen, Wendy, Matthew, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
All right, let's find out what's on the evening news next. Here's Charlene.
Coming up on the programme, the West Midlands police chief is to retire over his handling of the decision to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from a match against Aston Villa last year. Kemi Badenoch says Nigel Farage has done her spring cleaning for her following Robert Jenrick's defection to Reform UK. And we meet the Auchinleck Talbot player gearing up to face Celtic in the Scottish Cup this weekend. So join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Now, next from us, they have been entertaining fans around the world since the 1950s, and tonight, stars of World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, are bringing their tour to Wembley. Well, they'll be hoping it packs a punch. Kath Opata is there for us now. Kath, how is the atmosphere?
Lucrezia, in a few words, it is electrifying, it is breathtaking, it is intoxicating. As you can see, there are so many fans out here of all ages wearing their merchandise. We've been lucky, we had a chance to go backstage to meet a few of them, including the newcomer, the babyface, the boy from Bucks, Kit Wilson.
Weighing 180 pounds, that's 80 kilograms for us here in London. He is the boy from Bucks, now in a WWE ring.
The tourniquet!
And we got to meet him.
How does a kid from Bucks end up on the WWE stage? WWE ring, I should say.
Well, there we go. Well, let me say this first and foremost. Born and not raised in Newcastle. So I'm a Geordie at heart, but I'm a Buckinghamshire kid. I grew up in a small little village called Hadnam, so shout out to Hadnam. Wrestling and the WWE was the only thing I've ever loved since as long as I can remember. Maybe 5 years old, watching it with my older brother. I was never a sports guy. I wasn't a football guy, a rugby guy, none of that. The only thing that consistently stayed within me and a passion of mine was wrestling. So it got to the point where I was doing my GCSEs, I was doing my A-levels, we're talking about university.
Yeah.
I was potentially going to university for psychology. It just wasn't for me.
Well, there's a bit of psychology in wrestling.
There is
mind tricks.
Yeah, there's some play there, but for me to go to university and do a subject that I wasn't passionate about, I just knew I would crumble, I would fail because I wouldn't put my all into it, whereas this is something I love.
That would have been a massive... Apart from his athleticism, he's also oozing in charisma. You need that in the sport. For Kit, he draws his inspiration from the WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, aka the Heartbreak Kid, channeling him wherever he can.
Let's talk about your entrance. It's quite iconic. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I can't help but see a bit of Heartbreak Kid in
Yeah,
there.
they're calling me the Heartbreak Kit.
I like that. I like
The
that.
streets are saying. We go, Kit, Wilson. Put it to the head.
Wilson.
Perfect.
In case you're wondering what we're doing here in Wembley, Kit is one of the many superstars competing in this year's Royal Rumble, a tournament where they battle it out for the shot to face this man, the undisputed WWE champion Drew McIntyre. I reckon I could take him.
No, sorry, buddy.
No,
You're taller than some of the guys, though, to be fair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
More broad shoulders than some of the guys, so yeah.
Went to the gym this morning, so...
Yeah, I reckon you could be up a few of the guys, just not me.
One star who could is the boy from Bucks, our very own Kit Wilson. But if he wants a chance tonight, maybe less of the hips, more of the fists. Kath Opata from Wembley, ITV News.
I think our Kath could have a go if he wants to. Now, it is a dry end to the week for those fans at Wembley, but will the sun stick around for the weekend? Here's Philippa with a forecast.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Well, the weekend is very nearly upon us and the weather has a bit of a mixed picture in store. So lots of cloud on the whole, some rain or showers on the scene, and we'll also have some overnight mist and fog to contend with from time to time as well. And it's all tied up with a very weak area of low pressure across the UK. That's accompanied by a couple of very weak weather fronts. Those will provide the focus for thicker cloud, outbreaks of rain or showers, and all of that moisture will feed in to the mist and fog that we're likely to see as well. But this is how things are looking at the moment. The southerly breeze is feeding up cloud from the south, accompanied by a scattering of showers, one or two of those perhaps on the heavier side. But with the cloud and that southerly breeze, it will keep temperatures very much on the frost-free side. In fact, for most of us, probably sticking at around 6 or 7 degrees overnight. That cloud will be low enough to give some mist and murk though, and so tomorrow morning for all of us a bit of a grey and gloomy start. So lots of cloud, mist and fog over the higher ground, still some residual overnight showers as well, but I think as the day wears on conditions will gradually improve. The showers becoming fewer and farther between, the cloud thinning and breaking to allow some brighter sunny spells through, and with that in mind temperatures actually similar to today, so 1 or 2 spots hitting double figures. But overnight into Sunday, the fairly changeable picture continues. We'll see another weather front drifting in, introducing more cloud, outbreaks of rain and some misty, murky conditions as well. And those changeable conditions will carry us into the new week as well. So all in all over the next few days, lots of cloud, a little damp at times, but winds generally light and temperatures around average.
TUI sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Thank you, Philippa. And that is it from us. The evening news is next with Charlene, but from me and all the London team, bye-bye. Have a great evening.